This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I am your host, Brandon, and my dad joins me as my co-host. Week 6, Tennessee Titans, first London game. And I'm glad we got the win. Our last game in London some years ago ended up being in a loss, I believe, against Jacksonville. But before we get into the game, we are still working on some technical issues. I know I mentioned that in the last couple episodes. We're slowly getting there. We're almost there. So this episode should be much cleaner and nicer from an audio perspective. So glad those of you still stuck with us through those episodes. But yeah, I mean, this was a well-needed bounce-back game after our long 50-minute episode rant against the Pittsburgh game. Now, it's not as pretty as you would have liked to see, but as they say, a win is a win. I think really, though, when I look back at this game, it was two things. It was the lack of converting in the red zone, so many points left on the board, only one touchdown, and penalties on the defensive side because they couldn't get anything, Tennessee, on the offensive side of the ball. And a couple penalties really got them points on multiple drives that kept them in this game. I think besides that, our defense played pretty good. So, you would like to see more points on the offensive side in the red zone. You think, like, had we not played a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill, we played someone like a Mahomes or a Justin Herbert, and next week we play Jared Goff, who's playing pretty good for the Lions. Is that going to harm us going forward, not converting in the red zone?
Well, not looking ahead. Let's concentrate. It was a good win.
Just as a hypothetical.
Yeah. And it just it feels good that we were in London. It's the third and last game in London. We're on prime time. It's a whole different vibe to me than last week, as you may imagine.
How's the team going to handle travel and all these questions?
And I think the key was getting there early on Monday. And so, Harbaugh figured that out, which was good to see. They got adjusted to the time zone. But it was neat to see the Ravens on prime time in London and all the press that we got. And afterwards,
and the fans out there as well.
Fans out there, the flock was out there. I just feel it was a different vibe this week, and it was a pivotal game, like you said, and we needed to win, and we got the win. And I totally agree with you, Brandon, in terms of the red zone and the points that were left on the table that we could have had.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm not going to criticize too much because, as Tomlin said, a win is a win, right?
Yeah.
But you want to really, when you have the advantage and you have the possessions that they had in the first half, ball control and you want to convert them to points so that there is no doubt, right?
Yep.
So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to put it on a grade scale, B minus, C plus.
Yep. I'd say B plus.
B plus, okay.
I would say B plus because of the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, look, they only had 3 points for like the first half.
Yeah. I mean, I only said B minus due to the fact of the lack of touchdowns. If they got at least one more, I would feel a little bit more secure.
Well, I'm looking at both the offense and the defense, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the grade, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you with the offense. I would say B minus, maybe even a C, because you had so many opportunities in the red zone, right? But the defense, I give them B plus, maybe even A minus, because they were tough when they needed to be tough.
I mean, you look from week 1 till now, the defense really has outplayed the offense.
Yeah.
Which is not something going into the season both of us really thought. We thought with the additions from Odell, with Zay Flowers, the speed and his explosiveness, all the hype around him, Mark Andrews coming back, I had the notion that the offense was going to be our cream of the crop of this team. And you look at this season so far, I really think the defense has outplayed they both played well. But, I'm really surprised with our defense.
I can't agree with
really
you more.
am.
I can't agree with you more because in the beginning of the season, it was Todd Monken, and everything was about the offense.
Yeah.
All these new weapons, all this new scheme he said he was going to do. It was going to be a surprise. And now that I see we're in week 6, not so many surprises to me. Not so many. In terms of some of the play calling, I'll be sitting there with Brandon calling the plays on 3rd and 2 or some of these key situations, and I'll say, Lamar quarterback draw, right? And then it happens. And that surprises me because you do. Now, listen, if it's successful, I don't care what the play calling is, right? As long as it's successful. But
that's every fan.
These teams got to realize that when you have empty backfield with Lamar on 3rd and 2, that he's going to do a quarterback draw. I mean, that's kind of like what I'm saying. I'm like, who am I to be able to call a play, right? And these teams that are preparing for us, they're going to figure that out, and they have figured it out. But he's so dynamic. He's Houdini, and he makes Harbaugh look good, or Todd Monken and Harbaugh look good.
But as you said, that play happened this game, and we both said, it's going to be a quarterback draw. Design run for Lamar. And in that sense, you're just telegraphing. Right.
It's a 50-50 chance that he's going to be successful.
But really, I think with an empty backfield, it's not. Yeah. Because the defense knows if you want Lamar to run that bad, why not just have a running back and do a fake handoff and at least have the defense guess who has the ball. Correct. And make it easier for Lamar if he is going to take it. That's my opinion. It worked against Pittsburgh, right? He had 2 rushing touchdowns. Not Pittsburgh. It was Cleveland. But it's not going to be like that every time, especially with these teams that look at film and say, empty backfield, it has to be a Lamar scramble.
Yeah, yes and no.
They're not afraid of our passing game. Yes, let's get that word out there.
And, I guess from my viewpoint in the red zone, what I was perplexed about is where was Mark Andrews? Because that is our Kittle, and
not just this game, previous games.
In previous games, he has to show up in the red zone. So that is perplexing to me, and to not utilize him in the capacity in those types of situations, that is what is key.
To add on that, I would also add 3rd downs. You look at years prior, 3rd down in red zone, it was Lamar and Mark Andrews' bread and butter. Yeah.
They had that chemistry.
But this year, you don't see it as much, which is kind of confusing. Yeah. And this game, I saw Lamar a lot. Now he started the game out the gate 5 for 5, around 50 yards.
It was 4 for 4, and it was across
he went 5 for 5 at one point. Yeah. But he was on the money.
And what was nice, Brandon, it was different receivers, right? And by halftime, I think they said he distributed it to all 6 different receivers, which is what the offense that I thought was going to happen because we have all the weapons, right?
Consistently, but that's not the case. Yeah. That's not the case.
And I tell you, man, there was some key plays in the first quarter, like Aguilar with a tackle on his shoe strings of his foot. Could have been a touchdown. So many opportunities in the first half, I should say, that we could have had, and just the game would have been over.
Yeah. What I was going to mention too with Lamar is it seemed as the game progressed, he kept rolling out of the pocket, instead of stepping up. Yeah. It just seemed like, because we can't see down the field, like I mentioned in episodes prior, are these guys not getting open? Is the routes wrong? Because as the game went on, he kept holding on the ball longer, and there was nothing happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and it seemed like in the first half, Tannehill had all the time in the world to survey the field, and he had a pocket to pass in, and every time we saw Lamar, he's scrambling, he's running out. Yeah.
But I will say,
however, in the second half, he had time to pass, and they did a much better job.
I mean, I can't remember when they converted their first third down, but they went the first 7, 8, 0 for 8 on third downs. I mean, they couldn't get anything going. Hopkins ended with 1 catch, so props for the defense on that. Our boy Clowney finally got a sack. He actually got two sacks this game.
Yeah, it was good to see that.
But I mean, third down, they were going 3 and out a lot, which was helping us. I mean,
so many key plays, as is in every game. But Van Noy had another pass knocked down, or
Geno Stone with an interception.
Geno Stone was
I think he's got 3 on the year so far.
He's been a factor for us, right?
Especially with Marcus Williams. Seems like he just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I know.
Again,
he's hurt, hamstring. No telling how long he's going to be out.
Yeah.
And Humphrey, I got to say, guys, give me feedback on this, because I'm kind of a Humphrey fan, but I'm kind of not. And the reason for it is,
I would say you're not.
I would say to Brandon throughout the game that every time I see him, there's 2 things with him. He either has a pass interference, or he's just too aggressive and does dumb plays.
Basically, he doesn't make a play on the ball because he's so aggressive. He's never turning back.
He's not that's what I meant. You're right. And he's physical. I like that.
He can tackle.
But he can tackle. But on in his position, you have to have some finesse. You can't be grabbing and holding on receivers. It's almost every time he's one-on-one, you worry that he's going to get a pass interference. And sure enough, he got 2 this game. He could have had a 3rd penalty if Geno Stone didn't intercept the ball, because he wasn't even looking back. I'm just saying, of course we're critical, and it's so easy to be critical in slow motion. But you got to be, because he's premier, and everybody says he's premier. So, hey, I'm glad to have him back, and I'm glad to have him in the backfield. But it's.
I'll just say this on the bright side in regards to him. I would rather have him over Marcus Peters any day.
Yeah,
I mean, we saw Peters a couple weeks ago, prime time, and nothing's changed.
Yeah. You know what? And
can't make a tackle. He looks soft.
Yeah, his tackling is so bad.
So,
and I could almost be okay with that, so to speak, if he was intercepting the ball all the time. But he doesn't have any interceptions, right?
Yeah.
So he has a few. A few. But in terms of the whole season or half the season, he should have so much more.
I mean,
if he's not going to tackle, then you better intercept the ball.
Yeah. So I mean, not to go deep in Marcus Peters on the Raiders, but I mean, I just as a comparison, because he was with us for 3 years or so.
Same kind of result.
But I mean, in terms of this game, especially to stay on the defensive side of the ball, they played so well. The only thing that kept this game close, in my opinion, was the flag. I mean, Michael Pierce roughing the passer was egregious. That was a bad call on a crucial third down, and I get it. You can't land on top of the quarterback. But I forgot who was commentating. They said, what do you expect a big boy, I think it was Mark Sanchez, to do in that situation? He's making a football play.
Yeah.
And then the next play after, they do the fake toss with Henry, and he runs 70 yards.
70 yards. I mean, that was critical.
And we contained him all game. If you look at the stats at the end, I just did it before we went live. He had 97 yards. You take out that 70-yard run on that play, what did he do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was crucial, and that let them back in the game. And be honest, Dad, were you thinking, is this the beginning of the end, where we're going to blow another lead because of bad penalties, bad pass interference calls on Hopkins? I mean, I was like, oh man, this is another deja vu.
Like a deja vu. But let's go back. I'm going to kind of go back to the first half. I was really happy with Todd Monken's play calling in the first half versus in Pittsburgh. He handed the ball off to Gus, and he on 3rd and 2. Actually, it was like 2nd and 4, and then 3rd and 2, which I've always wanted him to do, pound and run and pound. And he did that, but Gus got stuffed. Then on the other drive, it was Hill, and he got stuffed on 3rd and 2. So, I mean, I'm okay with this play calling. It happened, unfortunately, that we couldn't get points on those 2 possessions, which is a 14-point swing. However, I'm happy with some of the play calling because I've been very critical of Todd Monken. Second half, though, kind of a different story. And I don't know.
We were moving the ball well. It just at the end, you gotta find a way to punch it in.
Yeah, I mean,
and we've seen that issue with some games where it just seems like we can't, for the life of us, find a way to get it in. We can move it methodically, so easily down the field. But I say my only thing with Todd is so far. I like him much better than Roman. Let's just get that out the way.
Yeah. Agreed.
Out the way.
Agreed.
But both coordinators at times, to me, feel similar in the red zone, where it's questionable calls on a crucial third down. The other thing I have with Todd is his personnel choices. On a 3rd and short, and you're taking out Gus to put in Justice Hill when you need a big back to get that extra push.
Right.
That's when me and Todd, I'm not on the same pages and I don't understand.
And look at the Titans in this game as an example, right? Would you take Henry out on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4? No.
And they said his percentage count has gone down. Each year. Maybe due to his age or whatever.
Yeah, but not on 3rd down.
Yeah.
Every time I looked at this game, every 3rd and critical for the Titans, Henry was in there because he's a decoy. If he's not getting the ball, he's a decoy, right? Yeah. So, I agree.
But we contained him pretty good, and I expected that.
Yeah.
Outside of that one run.
We play Henry well in the Titans, right?
Yeah.
And it reminds me, now that we're talking about it, reminds me of Ray Lewis and Eddie George. We've always played them rough, and now we got Roquan and Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
We played them with Pierce in the middle. So, I was happy that we always contain him. And other teams can't. And that shows me a lot about our defense and how tough we are on the run.
Up front, because when he gets in that second level,
it's
tough.
And that's what happened. He got that 70.
Marcus Williams on that run had to make a business decision on how to take him down.
I'm surprised he even tried to tackle him, right? But he went at his knees, and so he didn't get straight armed and be embarrassed on national TV. And I give him credit for that. Okay.
One thing I will say on the defense, this is kind of the last thing, because really, this game, it wasn't all that exciting. Not much happened. It was a lot of field goals. It was a lot of, possession of the field.
Hey, let's give props. Right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but let's give props to Tucker right now. 6 field goal.
Yeah. All his kicks were short, though. We made it easy for him.
Well, you say that, but...
we saw
it's short
the rookie.
For him.
We saw the rookie miss it
on 49ers
against Cleveland, but
But I'm just saying, because we're so spoiled with him, right? You think 40 yards? Oh, that's like an extra point. No, all these other teams have lost some of these games by field goals like that, right?
Actually, 2 things I want to say left on this game. So we almost blew it before half. It was a 3rd and I want to say 3. And we're on the brink. ESPN updating me. We're on the brink of field goal range. And I'm just thinking, just get a couple yards, get the first, and get in field goal range. And Lamar threw it deep down the field towards the sideline to Zay.
Yeah.
What is up? This team before half makes questionable decisions. Last week with Pittsburgh not kicking the field goal, and Tyler snapping the ball, and Harbaugh's confused what's going on. We got lucky because we punted the ball and he dropped that punt, and we had a second left to make up for our decision. Why? I just don't get it. And especially as Lamar, it's 2 things. Todd, why are you having a route 30 yards down the field when you just need to get in field goal range? Make it easier for you with a low percentage pass. Totally. And the second thing is, why is Lamar throwing that ball? Yeah. Why are you not seeking out Andrews on a third down over the middle or something? Kick the field goal. So we got bailed out because that guy fumbled it.
Absolutely, totally agree.
And
totally agree with that. So we got bailed out.
Real quick, the last thing I want to mention is, on the defensive side of the ball, I've been really happy with the fact that we have not gotten burned by 1-star receiver on a consistent basis. Because in previous years, you look at A.J. Green, you look at Antonio Brown, these premier guys always burn us. And the only guy this year was Pickens for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
But Jamar Chase didn't. DeAndre Hopkins didn't. Michael Pittman on the Colts didn't. So they've been doing a good job with this secondary that's been banged up and guys rotating. So I'll give props to them on that, because you are, if you leave with Hopkins having one catch, you're like, wow.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's shutting him down.
Yeah.
Shutting him down. So listen, totally different vibe for me this game. However, I was on pins and needles, and I think a lot of Ravens fans were in the second half, hoping that we don't blow a lead again, right? Like we did with Pittsburgh. So we got to stop that, I would say. But happy to have a win.
Gotta get some easy games.
Happy to have a win, and it's just like, can we have a relaxing game for one
Never.
Just one game? I guess not.
Why would we do that?
Yeah, why would we be up by 21 points or 24 points and just ease on into it and blow a team out? It just doesn't seem, whether they're good teams or bad teams, we just don't seem to be able to do that. However, good win, nice vibe to this.
A crucial
week.
win.
A crucial win. Now
Cleveland
we're 4-2.
Escaped.
Yeah, all our division.
And Cincinnati did.
Yep,
So.
and Pittsburgh had a bye, so this was critical this week to win, because we would have been the only one in our division to lose.
Yep.
So I'm happy to hear that. And now I know Brandon's going to talk about Detroit coming up, because that is a scary one.
Yes. So, just to quickly highlight it, we're coming up, in 21 minutes. Really not much to say on this game. This was going to be a much shorter podcast than last episode. I will say time goes by fast.
Yeah.
That last episode was very emotional, of course, with Pittsburgh, but you would be surprised how fast 50 minutes will go by. But Detroit, man, they're easily going to finish first in their division. Green Bay does not look like they're on cue with Jordan Love. The Vikings are a disaster. Justin Jefferson's out for 4 weeks. And the Bears, forget about it. So Lions are easily going to take that division this year. And props to them. It's about time. After all
they're
these
beating
years.
good teams.
Yeah, they started out and they beat Kansas City. That is no easy feat in Kansas City. So Jared Goff, you talk about a underrated quarterback, a quarterback who doesn't really get the props and love he gets and he deserves, because he's not a flashy quarterback. He's your traditional 6'4", 6'5" pocket passer quarterback. He's like Joe Flacco in a way. But now with the obsession with running quarterbacks and mobility, he's like kind of put to the side. Mm-hmm. But he's accurate. He's got an arm. Mm-hmm. They got some weapons. Amon St. Brown, a receiver. They got some running game. And, on defense, Aiden Hutchinson, one of the top premier pass rushers, he's amongst those guys when you talk about Garrett and Bosa and TJ Watt. So we're going to have our hands full. The only thing that makes me feel a little bit better, in a way, because we have been prone to losing games at home, is the fact we come back at home finally. Yeah, but it's going to be a tough game, and we needed this win due to
it's going to be tough. And the interesting part about it is, when you go to London like we did, you had an option to have a bye week for the team, and we elected not to have a bye week. And this team, and I think it was because early in the season we said, it's Harbaugh and his team decided, this is Detroit, so we can come back from London and play.
And then they
didn't bargain on Detroit being this good and this tough. So hopefully, I think this next game, Brandon, will be decided on defense. Okay? I really do. I really think if we can hold them and Lamar can hold his side of the offense bargain of getting at least 14 to 21 points, we can win the game. It's going to be close.
I think,
to me,
they can put up some points, but I think the offense has got to get the crowd involved. We got to get these fans loud, make it hard for Goff. And we got to get pressure, as you said, because he is not a runner. He can run,
right?
But we got to collapse that pocket and make it tough for him, because he's your traditional. He's just not like a Jalen Hurts that's just gonna go down and run with it just like that.
Yeah.
He's gonna be in that pocket.
I don't know if this is gonna sound stupid or not, Brandon, but the game will either be won on defense or offense, meaning we keep them under the points that they can produce, or we score more points. And that's kind of like the Kansas City theory. because Patrick Mahomes for years scored more points
than the defense lacked. And now they're more of a defensive team, to be honest with you.
They have both now. That's what makes them dangerous.
But their offense is not as high-powered.
Right, because he doesn't have as...
I mean, an odd week for football, I would say. A lot of upsets, 49ers losing.
Oh, my gosh,
we were very upset about that. I was nervous on that kick. Let's not talk about that. Eagles lost, a big upset with them. And one other team had an upset that I'm not thinking of.
Was it Philly?
Philly, it was... It was Philly. Kansas City won. But it wasn't even a blowout. And then the... hold on, bear with me real quick. I guess it was just those two teams because the Bills squeaked out with a win.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. We're thinking the Bills were going to lose, and they squeaked out with a win. Yeah.
But a very odd week. I mean, really, when you look at around the league, the premier quarterbacks, Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, and the Eagles have been struggling, even though they're 5-1.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's really.
Hey, by the way, the good news with the Ravens is we came out of this game with minimal injuries because around the league there are some key injuries to quarterbacks. This is
the healthiest we've been in a while.
Running backs, I know. So I gotta say I'm happy about that because they would claim that in London the artificial turf causes injuries. I was worried about that in the beginning, but no issue there. And I tell you, around the league though, there's a lot of injuries to like Justice Fields, and there's just been a lot of in Tannehill even in our game.
Ryan.
There's been a lot of injuries.
Yeah, so I mean, just to end, I also forgot to mention a big shout out to Zay Flowers getting his first NFL touchdown. That was nice to see. It was nice to see Odell too with a little speed, looking like his old self in the middle of the
that slant
field.
route killed us when it used to kill us.
That walk-off touchdown he had against us when we had Weddle and stuff, that was in New York. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and so
he just
good to see
everybody.
Him on our side, and he actually completed a game without being injured. It looks like. We didn't talk about Bateman. Now listen, guys. I know
we talked about him a lot last week.
Brandon
There's
has
nothing much to say.
But Brandon has a lot to say about Bateman and that interception where he didn't try to really catch that ball or jump up and knock it down. It really could have been. Well, was it disaster? Did they score off of that interception?
I think they got
3 points.
goal,
3 points, yeah. So I'm telling you, Bateman, hey, you're on our radar. So.
I'll just say one quick thing about him, and I proposed this to my dad. I know a lot of Ravens fans will probably be like, "Oh my God, get out of here," whatever. But you know what you have with Bateman. You're not going to extend him, just like we weren't going to extend Hollywood, and we ended up trading him before that even came to be.
In the draft.
Yeah, he's injury prone. He hasn't proven himself. Yeah. He doesn't mesh well with Lamar or this offense. My proposal is this. If you're going to push to go deep in the playoffs this year, right? Because Lamar's got to go deep in the playoffs eventually, right? If it's not this year, when? You can't take every season for granted. Why not trade? Or just maybe add this player to the team and maybe keep Bateman and they're going to keep Bateman, of course, but Jarvis Landry. I know he's 30. 30 is not completely old in the NFL, but he's a tough, even though he's small, he's a tough receiver over in the middle of the field. I mean, all those catches he used to make against us in Cleveland, he's aggressive. I feel like he could add more to the team than Bateman. Why not take a shot? You could get him for cheap, just to add something to this offense. Because what if Odell gets hurt again? And you can't trust Bateman and Odell to stay healthy. Why not take a shot?
What bothers me is what you've pointed out to me, that Bateman gets 1 or 2 catches a game at the max. That's it.
That's it.
And he's never been like a pivotal guy that is key to the offense.
And the reason why we get on him so much is the fact that they hyped him up. And he was a first-round pick.
And he was supposed to be this big, strong presence in the middle, and we don't see that. We don't see it at all.
It's disappointing.
So I don't know. I don't know what they see or what his future is, but he's pretty much been a non-factor in my opinion in terms of the offense.
To me, he doesn't really look engaged either. I don't know. Body language says a lot.
I know when you just out on the field, when you catch a ball and the emotion you have, if you get a first down, he just seems to be lethargic. And here's a big guy. He's supposed to be our big receiver. Zay Flowers has more physical presence out on the field than he does. That's crazy.
Yeah.
This
Bateman is like, he's kind of tall and lanky. He doesn't have
Yeah, but he's got to be intense. He's got the size.
I don't know. Something.
You look at Hollywood and Zay Flowers and even Odell, these guys are not big presence out there when you see them. He is more, like you said, maybe tall and lanky.
And let's be honest, too. Nelson Aguilar just joined the team.
Oh, yeah.
And has been more of a factor than Bateman.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that
he's more valuable.
That first drive, if it wasn't for a shoestring tackle, he was in the end zone. I was hoping and wishing for him because I want good stuff for him. He's in his later stage of his career. I wanted him to get a touchdown like that.
Well, he got one in Cincinnati.
He did. But
think about this, too. Think about this, and we're at 30 minutes now. We're going to wrap this up pretty soon, but outside of Flowers, Nelson Aguilar has had the most explosive plays as a receiver on the team. He catches the ball in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
If he caught the one in Pittsburgh, that was easy. That would have been one. Yeah. And then if he didn't get tackled on a shoestring tackle, that could have gone the distance, too. Has Bateman had those opportunities? No. I mean, he missed a pass outside of the drop
first
pass
of all,
in Pittsburgh.
What that shows you is he is getting open, and that's what Bateman is not doing. If he's not getting those types of catches, I have to say either Lamar is not targeting him, Brandon, or he's not getting open. So Aguilar looks like he's getting open for opportunities that Lamar wants to pass it to him.
Something's off for sure.
And with Odell, I told Brandon, last thing I'm going to say is I told Brandon that when I was watching Odell this game, it looks like I read a little bit on the Ravens site that he's taking a secondary role and he's pass blocking a lot. And for Zay, he's a big advocate for Zay Flowers. And the team, he's more of a team player than he used to be as an individual because he's a veteran and he knows his role. And I like that because I see him blocking downfield when you can see it. And I like that.
Which is nice from a player who was known for being finesse.
Finesse and
not a physical presence as a receiver.
Yeah, and so he knows he's not the number one primary receiver, and he's embracing his role. And I give him credit if he could just stay on the field and healthy, right? But I love that. Listen, good game. My last comments is good game. Again, unfortunately, a nail biter in the second half, hoping that they don't blow a lead, and I don't like that part of it. But we came out with a win in London and prime time, and let fans see what the Ravens were all about. Prime time. I say prime time. It was actually in the morning, so I don't know how many people watched it. But I'm happy about it, and really, really looking forward to the Detroit game. It's gonna be interesting.
We're definitely gonna need to close it out for sure, and not have any chance for a comeback in Detroit. So next week, back at the bank. It's nice to finally get a home game. It seems like it's been forever.
Yeah, and it has.
So interesting week. Pittsburgh against the Rams. And then you got Bengals on a bye and the Colts against Cleveland. So it's going to be another crazy week in this crazy division that we are a part of. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing this team build upon this win on a high note. So tune in next week as we face the Detroit Lions.